For the majority of my life as an adult, so pretty much ever since the time that I entered college, which is when I started making a concerted effort to come out of my comfort zone and mingle with more people, I've always been exceptional and, dare I say, second to none at being able to hit it off with fellow males. Within 5 minutes of meeting a new male, I used to be able to, and still can, get that person to grow fond of me and instill in that person a willingness to want to meet me in the future as well. I kid you not, nearly every single conversation with a fellow male I'm meeting for the first time would end up with that person telling me something along the lines of, "You're a funny guy," or "Dude, you're fucking crazy," or "You're chill as fuck, man. Give me your number. We should definitely hang out more often." And I used to feel absolutely great about that. I mean, who wouldn't? Look, we're all gregarious. We're all social animals. And so we feel good and secure about ourselves when viewed favorably by society or certain sections of society. Having said that, I couldn't help but feel vexed about the fact that this ability that I had to be able to so easily hit it off with males was in stark contrast to my ability, or the lack thereof, to be able to hit it off with females. Like, the difference was like day and night, chalk and cheese, apples and oranges, black and white. In other words, I was as terrible at being able to hit it off with females as I was brilliant at being able to hit it off with fellow males. For the longest time, the only 4 women who were genuinely fond of me were my mum, my sister, the Google Maps voice lady, and Alexa right there. But in the recent past, things have changed, so much so that I'm actually much better with females now than I am with males. But I'm certainly not complaining about this imbalance. Long may this imbalance continue, and may the magnitude of this imbalance continue to increase as well. Now, coming to the reasons behind my reversal of fortune. Look, there's some very obvious reasons that I'm going to very briefly touch upon before talking about the primary contributor to this change in fortune. Obvious reason number 1, getting physically fit. This is what I was in late 2016, and this is what I am currently. If you'd like me to create videos on my fitness journey, on fitness and nutrition in general, then please comment down below. It's a topic that I would love to create videos on, but only if I see enough people interested in it. So please do let me know. Moving on to obvious reason number 2, which is becoming a lot more confident. Of course, fitness has definitely enhanced my confidence, but it's not been the only factor. So if you haven't already, then definitely check out this video of mine in which I talk about 8 supremely powerful ways in which I was able to prop up my confidence, and how you can as well. Obvious reason number 3 is investing a lot more time meeting women and interacting with them. You know, for the longest time, I used to gripe about being unsuccessful when it came to courting women, when I used to do absolutely fuck all to change that, until it struck me that I can't be sitting back at home all day long jerking off, expecting beautiful women to land on my lap. You know, it doesn't work that way. And it sounds incredibly obvious right now, but it took me longer than it should have to internalize this realization. You know, just like we spend so much time developing professionally, we ought to spend time developing personally as well. And according to me, personal development doesn't just include the obvious shit like reading books and meditating and working out and everything else that's a part of the morning routine of a lifestyle YouTuber, or so they claim, but it also includes going out on dates, becoming a lot more comfortable interacting with the opposite sex as opposed to being unnerved by the prospect of doing so, and in general just becoming a lot more socially talented. Now let's talk about what's by far had the biggest and most discernible effect in terms of making me a lot more desirable to women. It actually took me quite some time to figure this out, but it started when I asked myself the following question: what is it about my attitude and demeanor when I'm speaking with males that's different compared to what my attitude and demeanor is like when I'm speaking with females? As a heterosexual male, there's really nothing on the line when I'm interacting with fellow males. You know, there's nothing really to lose. If the encounter doesn't materialize into a friendship, fuck it, so be it. And so I'm not holding any aspects of my personality back. I'm not putting any pressure on myself. I'm shooting the shit. I'm being as instinctive as possible when speaking. I'm not thinking every sentence through before uttering it. I'm loose. I'm free-spirited. I'm authentic. I'm putting all my quirks and idiosyncrasies on display as opposed to stifling them or hiding them. In a nutshell, I'm trying to express as opposed to impress. And as paradoxical as it may seem, by not trying to impress, I actually end up impressing. This is precisely why, in addition to being so impressive with fellow males, I'm so good with women who are much older than I am. Women, both young and old, who are already committed. Men who are gay. It's almost as if these people are out of bounds. You know, there's nothing on the line, as I said. And so you don't necessarily feel the need to bend over backwards to impress them. It just happens very organically by virtue of you being your 100% authentic authentic, genuine self. But it wasn't that way with single women close to my age. They're the ones who used to always trip me up because there was something on the line. There was something to lose. There was something to potentially gain. And so I used to try way too hard to make a favorable impression, thereby adding performance pressure on myself. I used to try to impress as opposed to express, as a result of which I would come across as overly professional and genteel and refined and try and come across as a paragon of perfection, thinking that that's going to impress them. I would be very measured while speaking, thinking of what to say before speaking so as to not make a mistake. I used to suppress all my quirks for fear of being judged or for fear of coming across as crazy and weird. And that's how many people operate. But if that's who they are and that's what their genuine self is, more power to them. But that's not who I was. If you know me personally, or if you've just watched a few of my videos on my channel, you'll know full well that I take a lot of pride in being quirky and unapologetic and politically incorrect and radically honest and skittish and unabashedly myself. There's absolutely nothing that I enjoy more than the freedom of saying whatever the fuck I want to say, doing whatever the fuck I want to do, and appearing as crazy as I would like to, as long as I'm not harming anyone. When people tell me you're crazy, I honestly look at that as a supreme compliment. वो sophisticated वाला switch है ना, उसको बस कभी कभी on करना पड़ता है, but that is not the default setting or the natural setting. And so going back to where I was, because I was acting out of character and trying to be this embodiment of sophistication and perfection and giving the impression that I was walking on eggshells when around single girls close to my age, they could easily tell that I wasn't being true to myself. Trust me, you don't need a fucking PhD in human psychology to sense when someone is being authentic and when he or she is not. Through your verbal as well as non-verbal cues, even children can distinguish authentic behavior from inauthentic behavior. It's important for me to point out that just because I'm a lot more authentic and free-spirited around girls as opposed to being too rigid and uptight like I formerly was, it doesn't mean that all girls find my style attractive. A lot of girls are completely repelled by it because they find it discomforting or obnoxious. But I do know that the ones who are drawn to it aren't drawn to it because they like it. They're drawn to it because they fucking love it. And personally speaking, I'd rather be loved or hated as opposed to being bang average and somewhere in the middle, because according to me, being mediocre and somewhere in the middle is the worst. Even worse than being hated, because being hated at least gives life some flavor. You can circumvent the hate by trying to be someone you aren't in a bid to please others. But you know, as the Bible says, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world but lose his own soul? Speaking as a heterosexual, I'll also point out that your style and your mannerisms and your demeanor when you're around the opposite sex will always be a little bit different compared to what it is like when you're around the same sex, because there's always a little bit of sexual tension when you're around the opposite sex. But what's really helped me is minimizing that difference, as opposed to being a certain way with males and a completely different way with females. To conclude, I'll say that every single person has fascinating aspects to his or her personality. These are what make you unique. It's just such a shame that so many people don't end up learning about these aspects because they never take the time to truly study themselves, or they end up stifling these aspects. I'm not saying that you shouldn't continuously seek to become a better version of yourself, but do not be so quick to dismiss your quirks or the unique aspects of your character as flaws or demerits. Embrace your quirks, embrace your idiosyncrasies, find ways in which you can channel them or leverage them in a constructive manner. And when you're able to do that, that's when you truly stand out and people notice the fact that you're cut from a different cloth. So don't fit in by trying to be like everyone else. Fit in by standing out. I'll give you an example. I'm an attention seeker and I know exactly why I am, but that's a discussion for a different day. Now, most people view attention seeking personalities in a negative light. You know, the word attention seeker has a negative connotation associated with it. But in addition to the many destructive ways in which I satisfy the attention seeker in me, one of the very constructive ways in which I channel my need for attention is by creating YouTube videos. The primary objective is to provide value and entertainment, but a byproduct of that primary objective is the attention that it brings me, and trust me, I fucking bask in that attention. Speaking of attention, I swear I wouldn't be as confident as I have become these past few months ever since the time that I started YouTube had it not been for you guys. So many of you tell me how appealing and unique you find my style, and this validation and acceptance coming from you is what motivates me to be as true to myself as possible. Of course, there are many who throw shade as well, but the positive feedback far outweighs the abuse. So thank you so much. A massive shout out to everyone who's been a part of the channel so far, but especially to the females who are a part of this community. Look, the female to male ratio on my channel is still skewed heavily in favor of males, but it gives me immense joy to notice the fact that that gap has now shrunk a lot. When I'd first started out, the ratio was something like 7% females and 93% males, but now the ratio looks a lot like what the ratio at Georgia Tech was when I was studying engineering there between 2011 and 2015. Goes without saying, step number 1, like this video. Step number 2, subscribe to my channel. Step number 3, take a little bit of a break and have a wank. Step number 4, share this video with a friend or a family member you think will benefit from watching this video. Step number 5, have another wank. And finally, step number 6, take care, stay safe, keep smashing it, show up for my next video, and cheers.